Welcome to the Business Day Dialogues in collaboration with 27/4 Investment Managers. My name is Nastassia Arendse. This morning, we'll be reviewing the results from the 2020 BE.conomics Annual Transformation and South Africa Asset Management Survey. Some key points that I want to, bring up at the onset, and we're going to unpack them through the next hour and a half. The other key point is that the industry is made up of a few large firms, then a long tail of small and mid-sized firms who are operating subscale. And the one that is quite closest to my heart, that the women participation at ownership and senior level is low, and we'll try to find out the reasons for that. My panelists are investment executives from 27/4 Investment Managers. We have Fatima Vauda, who's the managing director, Akona Mlamleli, who's a portfolio manager, Rory Ort, who's the head of unlisted investments, and Chad Porter, who is an associate in the unlisted investments division. Let's start by understanding the black asset management universe, especially, when you look at the makeup of the size of the firms, the percentage in terms of the total assets under management when you consider the top 5, and I suppose even as well the top 10 firms.
Good morning, Nastassia, and good morning to all the viewers who have joined us today. So there's a couple of observations that I'd like to make in regards to the overview of the black asset manager universe.
Fatima, thank you. We're going to come back to Fatima a little bit later on as we get through the Q&A session. And I'd like to encourage you once again to keep those questions coming through. We've got a few really good ones that we're going to attend to a little bit later on. But we're now going to shift the conversation a little bit and have a conversation with Akona, who's also a portfolio manager at 27/4. Akona, let's look at the trajectory of, I suppose, employees within the black asset management firms. And when you look at it, what does that look like, especially when you take into the consideration, the representation of women within the industry?
Thank you very much, Nastassia. So particularly in our 2020 survey, there's been no significant changes outside of the white male group that has decreased slightly.
We're talking about how, fundraising is a challenge for black firms, and we're seeing, a lot of the capital raising still going to more the established firms. How does then the pension fund industry relook at that entire thing and perhaps even accelerating some of the allocations to them? One could ask, what can be fixed and what's broken? Rory, I don't know if you want to, share some insights on that.
Sure. I think we have to have sympathy for pension fund trustees in the space.
Chad, do you agree that we got to have some sympathy for them?
I think we do. I think, to answer the question at the start, I guess, what's currently broken and needs to be fixed in around private markets.
We're now going to have all 4 of our panelists back on screen to get into that Q&A session. Have we moved from a tick box exercise in the industry where, responsible investing, ESG or impact is concerned? It's good to see that more managers are taking it more seriously, but is it something that investors can track at an asset manager level? Perhaps we can get some thoughts from the gentleman. Chad?
I think private markets is probably the pioneer for ESG and sort of sustainable development goals.
Right. Akona, we were talking about, there aren't enough women in the industry. And one of the comments here saying that you've provided some very interesting insights, especially as it relates to, that black female pipeline. From your, experience and your interactions, why are we not seeing as many black females come through that pipeline? Is it, or are asset managers actively looking for black females to be portfolio managers, to be fund managers, and retaining them in the actual environment, in the actual industry?
Yeah, so we are seeing a lot of initiative that has been made by a lot of the black asset managers and even the big houses.
Fatima, the one thing people will notice when they get access to the survey is that you do a quite nice 2-century discussion looking at the evolution of the asset management industry, going from colonialism to apartheid right up until now. And throughout this sort of 1.5-hour session, we've spoken about ESG taking center stage. We've touched on, transformation in the financial sector and the kind of new legislation that we can look at. But I'm curious to know, what does all of this mean when you look at the future of the South African asset management industry and you take that with listings on the JSE? I mean, what do you see, or rather, how do you see that unfolding?
Yeah, I mean, it was important to give that historical background because the structure of the South African financial services.
Fatima, thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, we have run out of time discussing that survey. You can access it on Business Live and, of course, on 274.com. You can watch the recording of this session. If you've missed anything and you want to go back to some of the points that were raised, you can catch it on YouTube and on Business Day TV. Contact 274 if you have any questions. Thank you once again to my panelist, Fatima Bada, who's the Managing Director of 274. Akona Mlamleli, who focused on public markets, and she's a portfolio manager there. We had Rory Ord, who is the head of unlisted investments, and of course Chad Porter, an associate in the unlisted investments division. Thank you once again for tuning in. Until next time, goodbye.